The scene begins late at night in a flashy penthouse. The television is on, announcing that the next CEO of the multi-billion-dollar company, Samjin Group, will be John Song-guk. The protagonist walks out of the shower and suddenly bursts into laughter, enjoying the praise he's receiving from both the TV and social media. He reflects on the hardships he faced as a child, studying while taking care of his immediate family and a wife from an arranged marriage. He maintained a solid, likable image to open doors and amass wealth. Now, the protagonist is ready to go through his phone and cut off connections he no longer needs. Just then, he says, "What the hell?" and starts to feel a sharp pain in his chest. He realizes he's having a heart attack, just like his grandfather did when he passed away. When the protagonist opens his eyes again, he finds himself reincarnated in a baby's body. He touches his face and starts freaking out, throwing a tantrum. In the next scene, the protagonist is surrounded by his parents, who are admiring how handsome he looks. Upset, he spits out the baby pacifier, crying and wondering what happened to his wealthy lifestyle and perfect body. He questions why he's now living in poverty as a baby. He can't believe he collapsed on what should have been the best day of his life. The protagonist struggles to accept the affection he's receiving as a baby, as his parents in his previous life were cold and work-obsessed. They only cared about wealth and results. Eventually, the protagonist falls asleep. A short while later, he hears the television reporting bribery allegations against his grandfather from his past life, the CEO of Samjin Group, the same man who died of a heart attack. The protagonist takes a closer look at the TV and confirms that it is indeed his late grandfather. He remembers that this scandal occurred when he was 10 years old. He reflects on how that moment marked his public debut, his chance to prove his existence and show that he was next in line. At the time, he was instructed to stand by his grandfather to evoke public sympathy and help the company weather the allegations. Now, the protagonist realizes that in this timeline, his greedy brother has replaced him and is the one appearing on television, making his debut. He feels uneasy, fully aware that he has returned to the past. But trapped in a baby's body, there's little he can do. Overwhelmed, he begins to cry again. In the next scene, the protagonist's mother grows concerned. She explains to her husband that the baby only watches the news, and when she changes the channel, he cries and throws a tantrum. The father tries to redirect the baby's attention, but the protagonist shoots him an eerie, intimidating look, frightening both parents. The protagonist knows he needs to observe everything happening in the present in order to regain his former wealth and life. Just then, the mother turns off the TV, saying it's bedtime. The protagonist, still lacking control over his baby body, eventually falls asleep. His parents remain worried because, despite being nearly a year old, he hasn't spoken his first words. In the following scene, the protagonist has lost interest in watching TV. He hasn't learned anything new, and he's still stuck in his infant form. His mother decides to take him for a walk to buy groceries. While they're walking, a beam from a nearby construction site suddenly falls toward them. The protagonist's mother protects him as steel beams fall on top of her. She begins to lose a lot of blood, and the protagonist fears he's going to lose her. In the next scene, the father is at the hospital when the mother wakes up and asks if the baby, the protagonist, is safe. The husband assures her that he's okay and that she protected him. The protagonist cries, grateful that she's alive. She then asks her husband why they're in a more expensive hospital room. That's when she finds out she's pregnant again. The family embraces each other with joy. A week later, it's the protagonist's first birthday. He wonders why his parents are throwing a party when they barely have enough money, but he realizes it's their way of showing love. Still, he starts thinking of a solution to their financial struggles. Just then, there's a knock on the door. The landlady asks if they've ever considered letting the protagonist become a child actor. The landlady explains that her company has taken on a major TV commercial project for a large corporation and is holding auditions for an important child role. She thinks the protagonist should audition since he looks adorable and seems talented. In the next scene, the mother takes the protagonist to the audition venue. He is emitting a dark aura, feeling as though he is destined for success, just like in his previous life. This is his chance to start making money again. In his past life, he was always surrounded by cameras and had experience in the industry. To him, this audition should be a breeze. The protagonist plans to reinvest the money he earns to start building wealth using his prior knowledge. While the mother waits in line for the auditions, the protagonist is called next. She sits him down, and he flashes a heartfelt smile. Shocked by what he's seeing, the director begins taking various shots and angles of the protagonist. The director shouts that the protagonist is a genius and demands the casting process begin immediately. He introduces himself to the protagonist's mother and says he wants to draw up the contract right away. Suddenly, they are interrupted by another mother who complains that it's not fair and that the final audition hasn't taken place yet. The protagonist is up against another baby for the role. The director explains that the baby who can naturally pronounce the given lines and act accordingly will be chosen. The protagonist's mother silently prays that he does well. The protagonist walks closer to the camera to give the director a better angle. He is asked to repeat the word Papa, and he does so with a big smile. The director is convinced the protagonist is the winner and feels validated in his instincts. However, due to corruption in the audition process, the protagonist does not win. The director apologizes to the protagonist's mother and says he didn't realize the audition was rigged by higher-ups. He explains to the protagonist's mother that he still wants to work with the protagonist and that she should go to another commercial shoot in a week. He extends his hand to hold the mother's and says he needs the protagonist as a backup model because he has a bright future. The mother agrees, and they exchange contact information. A week passes, and they arrive at the commercial shoot in a forest. As they walk through the site for the shoot, the protagonist sees one of Samjin Group's third-generation washing machines. It was a huge hit, and his grandfather was very happy. The protagonist realizes this commercial shoot is for the company. The lead actress meets the protagonist and instantly falls in love with him. The vice chairman suddenly arrives to meet with the lead actress, and the protagonist is in disbelief because he sees his father from his previous life.